This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Cam the man, how you doing, baby? You doing good?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Very good. Do you follow soccer at all? Like international soccer and
once
US
every 4
soccer?
years, man. Once every 4 years.
So you're the casual fan jumps on the jingoistic side. I got you.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Once every 4 years.
USA, Olympics, all that kind of stuff. I get
the first round.
Although, are you a weirdo like me? Would you watch track when it's not the Olympics? Because I do. When I run, it's not that I'm searching for it, but I swear to you, if I'm sitting on a Saturday afternoon and I run into a track and field meet, I'll stay and watch it. Actually, would you watch that?
Track and field, but so I do enjoy track and field. Typically, definitely during the Olympics, I definitely watch track and field during the Olympics.
Of course.
And I would say if there's a storyline or a person I know in the race, I will watch. Like I watch women track a lot when the Sha'Carri Richardson story was going on and seeing how they would go about it. If there's I
just saw her lose the other day. Actually, she was a little mad.
Right. So so I would watch a lot of those races regularly.
She's slightly emotional.
Yeah. And so I watched theirs, and then obviously there's some men's racers that if their name popped up, I'd be like, okay, I'll stop and watch that. So
but we're always in the mix, men and women.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I'm always intrigued by Americans, but I gotta admit, I'm always intrigued by who's the next Jamaican badass.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! I definitely root for the Jamaicans. You know, if we're not there, I root. You know,
wait, you're Jamaican? You say we?
No.
Okay.
If we like USA, like if we're not there, if we're not competitive. Same with the Olympics. Like if there's a sport we're not good at, or like soccer, typically, from the men's side, I'll typically root for like a Jamaica or like an African country. I usually like a little bit of the underdog, in my perspective. So
I'm always intrigued by the Jamaicans because they are really good at track, dude. Like really good at track.
Yeah.
Like it's like a small country that produces it, and I'm always amazed. But I'm not amazed that we produce it because we have 330 million people and the resources and all that kind of stuff. So we should be able to be great athletes. But man, when you're a little island and you're constantly doing it, it's always impressive.
They have a higher percentage. Like, and I don't know the numbers, but I'm sure it's the case. I'm sure they have a higher percentage of their kids who are active, more athletic. Simply because they're outside. We're so consumed with technology, because of that, we only get a small percentage, I'm guessing, of our youth who pursue in a significant level these athletic pursuits. And I'm guessing that a lot of Jamaica and some of these other countries, you're going to run, you're going to play sports because that's what your entertainment is to growing up. So I think a part of that is that. And also it's probably in their genes. They are just a fast group of folks.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely, for sure. Cam, and I said this from the get-go that it's when it happened with Dalvin, that I think he ends up here only because nobody's going to offer him crazy money, and the best offers he's going to have is not going to be that much different when you take out state tax and all that to come to Florida. And then the difference between the team that's offering you, which I think is not going to be a very good team, and then the possibilities of coming to Miami and winning a championship and signing a one-year deal. That's why I reported that he's open to a 1 or 2 year deal. But as time goes on, we're not hearing about people bringing in Dalvin. We're not hearing about offers or anything like that. And he knows what Miami's offering already. So is this, because I see it as a good thing that as time goes on, there's no vibe out there. There's nothing for him. I think eventually he ends up in Miami because of that. Agree or disagree?
Well, I don't know if he ends up in Miami or not, but I do think that you're right. I think we're looking at a situation right now where Dalvin Cook thought his market was down here and up here. And right now people are telling him it's not. And so he's got to decide. I think he would love to say, hey, I'll wait till training camp. Some team budgets, go ahead and makes that push and gives me what I want, or running back gets hurt and I get the money I want. But I think there comes some point, whether it's next week, whether it's next month, whether it's a week before the season, where he's going to decide and say, hey, it is what it is. This is the number I got, and I'm going to take my favorite offer. And I don't know, the Dolphins may be the highest offer of what he has or the most advantageous situation. But I think it's pretty clear right now, you know, he was set to make $11-12 million. Nobody's offering him anything close to that. And so the situation he has is, how much does it take? Like, what's that number where you're comfortable? Is it 8? Is it 9? Is it 7? Is it end up being 5 with incentives? I think ultimately, do you need a 2-year deal? Do you need a multi-year deal? These are things that he's got to ask himself, because the 12 number is not going to happen. So it's like, what else do I need? Do I need a 2-year for $5 million each and take the $5 million but get the guarantees? Do I need incentives? What do you need? And then what's more important to you? Do you need the absolute most dollar amount, or you say, hey, my favorite spot where I want to be, Miami, just come close to this number, come as close as you can, and I'll take it. And I think ultimately that's where we're at. And yeah, I think
Chris Greer is going to try to sneak in that 2-year special deal,
right? But that was going to say about
2-year deals.
The key is it's the second year have guarantees in it,
right?
Because a lot of the Chris Greer specials is, hey, all your guaranteed money is year 1, and we have a free team option essentially for year 2. Whereas Cook, I'm sure, is like, hey, I'd love to have 2 years guaranteed if it's lower money. So that will be interesting to watch too. But yeah, I think it's obviously good news for the Dolphins, who weren't going to spend big money, that he hasn't had a lot of visits or offers, because clearly your evaluation of him in the market is probably right. It's probably right. And now we just kind of wait and see what he decides.
Yeah, and I think the Dolphins have handled this in a perfect fashion. Listen, I mean, it's all these backs. I mean, they're all having all these issues now. What was it yesterday that I talked about? Who was it? Joe Mixon now. Mm-hmm. Now the Bengals may go to Joe Mixon and say, hey, Joe, we like you, but you got to take a pay cut. They may even cut his ass if he doesn't take a pay cut. And, of course, Mike Brown's got to pay all these people now. His quarterback. By the way, there's no way Mike Brown pays for both receivers, right? I don't believe that. I don't believe he gives T. Higgins.
It's such a tough situation.
T. Higgins is going to get a number 1 deal. Like, he's a number 1 wide receiver, actually, on most other teams that isn't the Miami Dolphins and the Bengals and maybe a couple of other teams. T. Higgins is a number 1 wide receiver on most NFL teams. He's going to get paid that way. I can't see Cincinnati paying both number 1 wide receivers and the quarterback to Mike Brown, spending that kind of money, putting that kind of money in escrow. No.
So you're absolutely right. It's a tough question, because the Bengals historically have been, how can I say this kindly? One of the cheapest teams in the league. There's not really any way else to put it. But I will say recently they have been spending more, because they do realize this is a contending team. And if you ever want a Super Bowl, you have to maximize this window. And so they participated in free agency. They went and got they signed Leal Collins last year. It didn't work out. They signed a few other people. And then this year they went and got Orlando Brown. And so they're trying to spend money. They're going to have to pay Joe Burrow an absorbent amount of money. And they can't cheap out there at all. Jamar Chase is going to get money. And so, absolutely. And so the question is, what is their limit? They're definitely going to spend way more than they ever intended to spend. But what do they have a cutoff? Like, I was talking to a family member about this yesterday. A lot of people get so caught up and think every team's equal with a cap. There are owners that are, all of them are rich, but they are poor compared to other owners, like in perspective. And like you said, they're having to put $200 million away guaranteed or in a signing bonus for a Joe Burrow, and maybe another 60-70 million for a Jamar Chase and signing bonus, and maybe more for a guarantee. Like, that's a significant amount of capital for the Browns, who may just not have that laying around. And so I do think there's a limit, but they have also been adamant that we're not trading T. Higgins. So that could be a situation kind of like where they're with Jesse Bates, where they make him play on the 5th-year option. Or actually, he's a 2nd-year player, 2nd-round pick. So tag him with the franchise tag and try to milk that thing out until they are forced to make a decision. And so they limit themselves on long term, but they sort of bide that clock a little bit on that window.
Yes and no, because now he's on a 1-year deal. He blows out his knee. Now you're not paying him, and you're not getting what you wanted in a trade, because right now you trade T. Higgins, and you're gonna get a lot.
Absolutely.
You're gonna get a lot.
They also could be looking at this perspective, right? I think this is the last year of T. Higgins' rookie deal, right? Next year we can franchise tag him. The year before we can franchise tag him too, if we want to. That's the max. We have 3 years left of T. Higgins' rights, quote unquote. They could say what you said and said, hey, the value might never be higher. Or they could say, we have at least 3 years, and if he has a down year or if he gets hurt, that's our time to swoop in and get him in for less and sign him to a long-term deal if we really believe in him. I mean, this is the way teams think. Probably isn't the way the player wants to be thought about it. Like, hey, he's playing on a 1-year deal. Like God forbid, T. Higgins tears his ACL in week 1 this year. His value's going down. Now the Bengals say, hey, you might have been asking for 20, 25 million a year with a bunch of guarantees. We're taking you coming off damaged goods. Maybe we get you for 15 now.
Right.
And so, like, these are the way teams think, and that's why, like, letting it bleed, milking it year to year with the franchise tag, it may be the route they choose, especially knowing Chase and Burrow are going to get paid.
That is very interesting. Robert Pereira on the chat board. This one's interesting. I already know the answer. I know you know the answer, but I like having fun with this. Yep. Big O, I heard on other chats that the Miami Dolphins are thinking about signing Tua to a contract extension. What do you think about that? So let me ask you, is there any talk about an extension right now? No. Right?
Sorry, you caught me in the middle of my protein shake sip. I've not heard anything in regards to contract extension. I think that you're going to be looking
at is anybody credible talking about that? Okay.
I have not heard anything.
Always no, but I'm talking to the guy on the chat board, Roberto. Always ask yourself this question, okay? The person talking, are they a legitimate person? Do they actually cover the league? Do they have a credential? Do they have access? Oh, it's just a bunch of people talking? Well, then guess what? They know nothing. It's a YouTuber. They don't know anything. They can guess like everybody else, and we all can do that. But is it somebody credible? Is it a legitimate person? Is it Cam Wolfe? Is it Marcel? Is it Joe Shad? Is it Rappaport? Is it somebody that's legitimate?
Right.
No, then it means nothing, bro. There'll be no extension for Tua till maybe 3 quarters into the season that he's kicking ass, and they'll say, all right, let's start the negotiations or something, or next year in the offseason or whatever. Tua's injuries and all that kind of stuff ended all of that. He has to follow up this season with a fully healthy season and prove that he can stay on the field and lead the team, and then they will make the commitment. But the commitment's not going to come until it's proven, my brother.
Yeah, I think you're looking next offseason. Injuries, I mean, as much as Dolphins fans don't like to hear it, injuries play a big factor in it. They think Tua's good enough when he's on the field, but he's not on the field enough. So he's got to prove that he can stay on the field, and then you can talk ascension. And I think that I would be shocked unless Tua took a dramatic pay cut on what the salary is and had a lot of that gave you insurances in regard to injuries and injury guarantees. And I know his agent. I don't think his agent is going for any of that. So Tua, all you got to do is stay healthy, stay relatively healthy, play most, if not all, of the season, and leave this team to the playoffs. Maybe win a playoff game. You're going to be inking a big time extension. If not,
exactly
questions to answer. So that's the situation.
You know, what you have to be happy about, Roberto, and every other Dolphins fan out there is, okay, so this dude blew out his hip. He, within months, 9 months, okay, was ready to play in an NFL game. Shows you his commitment. Then he builds up the core in the last offseason. So he looked better in his second season. And
Mm-hmm.
then this past year, after having the concussions, what does he do? He now builds up the upper part of his body. Okay.
Right.
So as a professional, you cannot be more professional than Tua Tagovailoa, who addresses anything and everything that happens to him. So now the next part is the play. Well, now you've seen it. He can play. So the last part of this whole equation is durability and staying away from injury. So it's up to him to make those decisions. The beauty is, and I think you would agree with me, Cam, everything is in place for him to be a franchise guy, to be a long-term guy. He's just got to prove one thing left.
Yeah, that's it. So it's interesting. It's interesting the questions on Tua have changed as time's gone on, because I was talking to a buddy about this year, coming into this year, like around this time last year. The big question around Tua is his arm strong enough? You go get Tyreek. Can he feed his playmakers? Is he going to waste Tyreek? Tyreek puts up the best year of his career numbers-wise. Jalen Waddle also puts in top 10 numbers receiving-wise, and he shows that he can support two not only 1,000-yard, 1,300-yard plus receivers, right? And so now that question's been answered, and now the question is solely, which had been a question throughout, but solely on health, right? And so I think that Tua is set up in a situation where you still have those two receivers that you were flourishing with. They went and got you a little bit more talent. When we talk about, Chosen or a Braxton Berrios or a Devon A-Chain, you have even more talent. And so as long as the offensive line, which is still a big question of mine, can protect you and you stay healthy, then yes, a unit that was a top 5 offense last year when you're on the field should be top 5 again, if not top 3. I think when you talk about the best offenses of football, you have to talk about the Dolphins up in that group. Like the Chiefs are probably there, the Bills are probably there, the Eagles are there, the Bills are there, and the Dolphins are right there too. To me, that's the top 5 in whatever order you want to put it. If all players are healthy in the teams I mentioned.
Yeah. That to me, and that's the best part about in this season where you are with your quarterback, that it's all, at least the questions aren't about can you play, which is the main question for any quarterback out there. Can they figure things? Can they read defenses? Can they be accurate? Can, all those kind of things. So now, the professionalism is there. The dedication is there. The ability is there. It's the availability. That's the only thing that's left, for Tua. And it's up to him this year. Hopefully he'll show us also that he will make better decisions too. So it's not just about bad luck. It's about him bringing on bad luck to himself too at the same time. So those are that's really what it's all about, and that's what should make you feel better. Nobody should be talking about extensions at this point in time. There's way bigger hurdles before you get to the extension, and that's availability. On the offensive line, what's going on with Connor Williams? What do we know about this situation?
Yeah, as of now, all I know is that Connor Williams would love an extension, and the Dolphins and Connor are not close right now on what that number would be. And so that's essentially the situation. We're going to watch as we go closer to training camp. Does either side budge a little bit? Do the Dolphins give Connor a little bit more of what he wants? Does Connor decide to play regardless? The question I don't know is if there's no extension. If the Dolphins say, hey, no, you're playing this year out, what does Connor do? Because that is the big question. If there's extension, it'll be announced whenever it's done. All is good, kumbaya, happy days, right? The big question is, what if it doesn't? What if we show up July, I don't know if they've announced their day yet, but July 25th-ish, whatever it is, 26th, and there's no extension, and we're waiting to see if Connor Williams does or does not show up. Then it becomes a little bit more difficult. Then if he decides to say, hey, I'm going to sit out, or the new route, hold in, so I get paid but don't show up, then you start to have some difficulties. But as of now, I have not heard anything in regards to, hey, expect a Connor Williams extension any day now. And we shall see. But we still have another month, and typically deadlines spur action. And so one of those deadlines could be training camp if Connor Williams is really going to be hardline and say, hey, I'm a holdout. So right now, I'd say it's a moderate concern. But obviously, if we get to training camp, no extension, and Connor holds out, then it becomes a major concern.
Okay. What are you working on over at the NFL Network so folks can check you out?
Yeah, I actually did some TV yesterday on Total Access, talked a little Dolphins defense and Vic Fangio and some things there. I was out at the celebrity softball game over the weekend, sent some videos out. Jalen Waddle went yarder quite a few times, and Tua hit a home run on his first at bat. And so that was fun. But this week should be relatively light, man. I already did my TV day for the week, and so I'm gonna. My wife's in Vegas watching Usher. I sent her the Usher concert out in Vegas, and so I'm on solo dad duty, and so I'll just be hanging out with my daughter through Thursday, and yeah, so that'll be it. It'll be light week or two ahead for the rest of the month for me.
That's her favorite, Usher?
One of her favorites. She's a big Usher. She likes Chris Brown as well.
Wow, a woman that likes Chris Brown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll take her to the Chris Brown concert.
She gets over the other.
I guess so. I sent her all the links. I sent her all the links, and she just ignores me. I'm like, so clearly she's liked Chris Brown for a while, and so she says she likes his music, not necessarily him as a person, and she can compartmentalize.
Hard to like the person. It's almost impossible to like the person. He is talented as hell. Right. I mean, the dude can dance his ass off, bro. Like, yeah. And what else? What else is she into? Usher, Chris Brown. What else?
She actually likes some country music, which I do not like. But she's a country music fan, so I don't know who all her favorites are, but she's definitely
country's more modern music now. It's not so twangy anymore. It's got a lot of pop, a lot of rock, some rap in it. You know, country's changed, dude. It's
good for country and everybody who listens to it who is not me.
What's go to three? What's your favorite three?
I'm a hip hop rap guy, and so
anything top three. What is it? What rocks you? Top three.
So currently, Big Crit is a big favorite of mine. Is a Mississippi artist who's a rapper. I'm a big J. Cole fan, and so I really like J. Cole. And Drake is probably the most popular artist that I listen to a lot, and so he would probably be up there as well. But it's from a more localized perspective, Meek Mill is definitely a favorite of mine too. I grew up in the Phillies, Jersey area a while, so that would probably be my group of folks that I listen to the most.
My daughter's with you on J. Cole. She loves J. Cole, man. Got her tickets for a J. Cole concert a couple years ago too. She loves J. Cole, dude.
Yeah, J. Cole is fire, man. But I'll tell you what, I'm getting into some new age rappers. Like Lil Baby is a big one for me. I listen to him a lot. Benny the Butcher is a guy in Buffalo. I listen, out of Buffalo that I listen to. And so yeah, I try to.
Are those mumble rap guys or
so I would consider that. I would not consider either one of those mumble rappers.
Okay,
you're talking more like you probably would be bothered by like a Lil Uzi Vert, who's also a Philly rapper, who's a little bit more of that mumble style. I like him too, but he's a little bit more party club music. He's the guy who makes the "I Just Want to Rock" song. I don't know if you've heard that one. Yes. That's Lil Uzi Vert. So a little bit more mumble, but he still has some bangers in there. And so yeah.
Okay. All right. Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe and catch him next week on the NFL Network since he already did his hit this. All right, Cam.
We got to get our break in the summer, man.
Enjoy the daughter. Enjoy daddy daycare all week, my man.
All right, I will.
You got it. There you go. Cameron Wolfe, baby. And KSDT CPA. Hey, government's going after a lot of the people that have not paid their taxes. So listen, maybe you're going through some rough times, or you were going through some rough times, or still going through some rough times. Avoiding that stuff, that doesn't help any of us, okay? Because they're going to catch up to you one way or the other. But the best thing is to have guidance, to have people that are knowledgeable and understand the laws and the rules, so that way they can work to your favor and not work to your disadvantage. And that's what happens when you avoid it. You don't do the right things. They're going to take advantage of you. Call KSDT CPAs. Use that QR code that you see there. Put it out. You get your phone out. Put the picture out on photo, and aim it there, and that'll give you a link. Hit that link and call the great people at KSDT CPAs. Doesn't matter where you're at. Dude, the government, they got nearly $80 billion extra dedicated to IRS agents, and they're going after people that have not paid their taxes in the past few years. So call them, or if you weren't able to file just recently, they can help you get an extension, get you back on track. 305-670-3370. Tell them that Big O sent you. Offices in Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, but they can help you out anywhere, man. Just give them a ring on the phone. You can do all of this by phone. 305-670-3370 for KSDT CPAs.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.